everybody, and welcome to part 1 of my Indigenous Taiwanese net bag tutorial. So in this part we're going to be going over a brief introduction to these net bags, and we're also going to be going over all the materials you're going to need to make them. Alright, so let's start off with a brief introduction on what we're going to be making in this tutorial. Alright, so I've got one of the finished products right here. Now, these bags were commonly used by many Indigenous Taiwanese tribes, particularly in the south of the island. Now, this bag right here is made in the style of the Taiwan tribe, and in the Taiwan language they call it the azai. And this is the type of bag we're going to be making in the tutorial. Okay, now to take a quick look at the bag itself, you can see it is designed as a drawstring bag with many rattan rings around the edge of it, and a string passing through them to form a drawstring, so you can close it and open it. Now when you look at the body of the bag itself, you can actually see it's crocheted into this very fine mesh-like netting, and now this stuff is actually incredibly strong from all the combination of thousands of little strands. So when you actually put something in here, the weight gets spread out between all these little strands and the bag won't break. Now these bags aren't limited to just being one solid color, you can actually add in multiple colors into them, just like this one. And in this tutorial I will actually be showing you how to do this by changing the color of the string. Alright, so now let's go through all the materials you're going to need to make one of these bags. So I've got everything lined up right here, and we'll go through each one individually. Alright, so first things first, you're going to need yourself some string. So what I've got here is actually rami. Now this is a plant fiber type of cordage from the rami plant, and this is what's traditionally used by the Indigenous Taiwanese, but nowadays people use all sorts of things. Synthetic strings, cotton, hemp, just preferably something strong. Okay, so the next thing you're going to be needing to actually be able to crochet your bag is a crochet hook. Now, I've just got these 3 types right here, but there are so many more varieties of Indigenous Taiwanese crochet hook, but they all share this one thing in common. They all hold the string directly on the hook, and you will see why in part 2. Okay, now to start off with one of the absolute simplest crochet hooks from the Indigenous Taiwanese, we have this one right here. That's one that the Amis use occasionally. And it's just a simple piece of bamboo that's cut to have a hook on one end, and on the other it's got a little trough for string to be wrapped around. Now the benefit to using a hook like this is that it's very simple to make, but otherwise it's not very easy to use, and it's best suited for making less fine, larger net bags. Okay, so on to the next crochet hook. We've got this one right here, which is probably one of the more commonly seen designs throughout Taiwan, and it is the design that the Baiwan use. Now you can see here the body is made of wood, and it has one closed hole and one open hole with a little trough for string to pass through. And looking on the other end here, you can actually see it's a metal crochet hook stuck right into the tip of the wood. Now these are very commonly seen nowadays, but traditionally it was actually on the end of this, they'd have a Formosan serial horn with a small hook carved into the tip of it. Now onto the final crochet hook that I have, and the one I'm actually going to be using. It's this one right here that's more in the style of the Taiwan tribe. Now the main difference between the Taiwan tribe's hook and the Baiwan tribe's hook is that the trough back here is a lot larger. Now of course there are many intermediaries between all these types of hooks. There are ones that are like this style that are made entirely out of bamboo from the Zhou tribe, and there are ones that have this type of hook end but are instead just a simple wraparound from the Rukai tribe. Now if you'd like to see a couple of those hooks, I've linked a couple of videos down in the description that actually feature those hooks, so go check those out if you'd like. Okay, so moving on here, we're going to be needing a couple of sticks. Now, I've got 3 different sizes right here and a couple of different materials. I've got 2 pairs made of bamboo right here, and then this one is made of wire. Now the only thing that the size of the stick does is determines how fine or coarse your net bag is going to be. So the smaller it is, the finer your mesh will be. And they don't actually have to be completely cylindrical. They can be a bit ovular or sometimes even rectangular. It's just easier to work with completely cylindrical sticks. Now for this net bag, because we're going to be doing it the Taiwan way, we're going to be using 2 sticks, and I'll be using these 2 right here. Next thing we're going to need, or rather things we're going to need, and this is for more towards the end, is some stuff to be making the rattan rings. Now first you've got your rattan right here. You're going to need quite a bit of this stuff. Next you've got an awl. This comes in very handy when you're trying to make those rings. And then this is actually just optional. You can have a piece of cylindrical bamboo or wood to shape your rings. Some people actually just do it around their fingers. Now after that, to actually finish up the rail of the bag, you're going to be needing some sewing needles, or actually in this case I have tapestry needles, and I like these a bit better because the tips of them are actually dull, and you'll see why this is more useful in a future part. And last but certainly not least, you're going to need yourself some scissors for cutting just whatever. So now we've got all of our materials selected out, and we are now ready to start making our net bag. So I'll see you in part 2. Hopefully the video is up when you're watching this, otherwise this is going to be some other video that's not related.